Welcome back. I recently asked on a community post for you guys to send me your worst, most controversial, or just hottest Batman Arkham franchise takes. Now, there were some interesting comments to say the least, so today we're going to cover them, dispute them, and probably lose a few subscribers. Maybe gain some too. So, like the video, subscribe, because we're so close to 2,000 subscribers, and that would be so cool to hit, that would be insane. So yeah, subscribe, like, and leave your worst takes in the comments below, or most controversial. They don't have to be bad takes, because, say, this might become a series, because this was quite fun to make. So anyway, let's start with the first one. I'll just be doing these in order of how I've kind of brought them in. So the first one says, Copperhead, Origins, Mr. Freeze, City, and Cloudburst in Night are fine bosses in theory, but are completely ruined once you know how to cheese them. And you know what? I have to back this one. This is actually, on the scale of hot to cold, I'd say this is a good 5 out of 10. Like, honestly, Mr. Freeze and City, especially for me, I understand why people kind of see it as this massive, yeah, this is the best boss fight in the series, but honestly, after you've played it more than a few times, it just gets a bit monotonous. Like, you kind of make a system of the attacks you want to do, and it gets a bit dull. Copperhead in Origins, again, is the same. Once you get the concussion detonator, it's very samey. It's very just concussion detonator, dodge, punch. It's not very interesting after a while. And the Cloudburst in Night's an interesting one, because it's not one that I've played enough to kind of get bored of. I've played a lot of Batman Arkham Knight, but a lot of that is the side missions, and not a huge amount of time spent in the main story unless it's to unlock a side mission. So I've probably played it a few times, but in all honesty, it's pretty samey. Like, you take out the Cobras, you take out the Arkham Knight, you shoot them a bit, and yeah, I can see how this take has been formed, because yeah, they're all fine in theory. City, obviously with Mr. Freeze, is one of the better fights. But once you do know how to cheese them, they are just monotonous. They're like, oh great, gotta fight Mr. Freeze again. That's pretty grim. So yeah, I can see where this one comes from, and honestly, I can't say I disagree. This is good. We'll rate these. We'll rate these out of 10. So I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10 for agreeableness. Next up, we have Arkham Origins Bane is the best villain of the series. They did him dirty in Asylum, but that's not a hot take. I think Bane in Origins is definitely top 3, but I think he's 3. I think considering he appeared in one game and I'm not being funny here, it was a good appearance. Like, in terms of making his appearance count, it was a good one, but I don't think he's the best villain in the series. I think when you look at, obviously, Joker, for starters, like, across all 4 games, as I appreciate a bit of Joker fatigue sets in, but if you look at Joker, Scarecrow, I think they're both a bit better than Bane, considering Bane only has one appearance as Arkham Origins Bane. I think if he came back in Asylum as Arkham Origins Bane, that might be up for debate. But I think to call him the best villain in the series, I don't know, if you look at it as a one-game basis, in terms of just one-and-done villains, yes, I think there's definitely a case to be made there. In fact, I think that is the case, that Bane is the best villain, if you look at it as, if you have to pick one game. For example, if you could only pick Scarecrow in Night, Joker in City, and Bane in Origins, I'd probably say Bane's up there. I don't know how I'd order that. I'll put something on screen to try and visualise how I'd order that, because I'm not sure. But I think Bane's a good shout for definitely top 3. Obviously, the second part of that says they did him dirty in Asylum, but that's not a hot take. No, you're right, it's not. Again, very agreeable. He's really bad in Asylum when you compare him to Origins, and that's something that I've kind of come around to believe, because initially I was very people don't like Arkham Asylum Bane, but yeah, I can see why people don't like Arkham Asylum Bane. Like, the Arkham games to me, especially the Rocksteady trilogy, or the 2 he appeared in, really made Bane into a very generic villain, and I feel like outside of Joker in the comics, Bane is like Batman's next big villain. And so I feel like, obviously, they did do him dirty in the Rocksteady trilogy, definitely. But Origins kind of made up for that, and I think that's kind of where this take is based. That, yeah, I mean, in Origins, that being obviously the only Warner Brothers Montreal game, he's the best villain. So did they understand the character a bit more? I'd probably say yes. And yeah, I think this is a pretty Pretty agreeable take. I'm not sure personally, because obviously Scarecrow for me is the best villain in the series, but obviously then you've got Joker, who kind of orchestrates the whole thing. He's like the constant throughout the 4 games, and I think there's a take later on talking about Joker, but I'll give this a 7 out of 10, because I think there is a case that Bane is the best villain in the series. You just have to look at it under specific circumstances of across the series, across all Origins, Blackgate, Shadow, Asylum, City, Night. There we go. I forgot the games, and Suicide Squad. If you want to include Suicide Squad, probably not. I feel like his appearance gets a bit watered down the further you go in by Joker and Scarecrow. But yeah, I feel like this is a 6-7 out of 10-ish. Next up, we have 2 takes again. With Arkham City is hands down the worst of the trilogy. This is 2 out of 10 rage bait. I'm not sure. There's no backing up of this, by the way. It just says Arkham City is hands down the worst of the trilogy. Now, I have an interesting theory on this one. I think if you look at Arkham City in comparison to Asylum, Night, and Origins, I don't think you can compare it to Shadow, because Shadow is a VR game, and I appreciate people go, oh, well, what do you have against VR games? I don't have anything against VR games. I love Arkham Shadow, but you have to compare it to the other console games, because that just makes the most sense. So if you compare it to the other games it can be compared to by gameplay, atmosphere, and whatever, Arkham City for me has never been my favourite Arkham game. Although I'm sure someone's going to dig up something I said 6 months ago. I was like, Arkham City's my favourite. Arkham City for me has never been my favourite, because to me it's never shone at anything. And that's looking in retrospect, obviously, with Arkham Knight and Origins sort of in the bag. But obviously when it came out, it was the best Arkham game. But I think for me, Arkham City is so good because it's so well-rounded. I don't think it particularly excels at anything. Again, this is in comparison to the other Arkham games. If you look at it from the standpoint that Arkham City, when it came out, did everything better than Asylum, yes, it's the best. You look at it against Origins, is it better than Origins? I think that's genuinely up for debate. But if you look at it against Night, Asylum, and City, or Origins even, I can kind of see where this is coming from in certain aspects, because for me it doesn't excel at anything. Like, Asylum is the best looking game in the series, as in, like, atmosphere and just keeping that consistent, horrifying feel throughout. Origins has obviously the best boss fight, and it has, I think, probably a couple of the best performances in the game. It has the best villains, I'd say, in terms of a total package. Night, by far, has the best gameplay. City doesn't. Origins also has the best story, I think. I think there's a good... You wouldn't get crucified for saying Origins has one of the better Arkham stories. So I feel like I can kind of see where this one's coming from, because Arkham City, for me, it's not a bad game. Like, God, don't go in the comments and go, why do you hate Arkham City? I don't hate Arkham City. And I feel like that's something we should just pinpoint going forward. I don't hate any of the Arkham games. Any of them. I love them all. But if you look at them as a 4, to me, Arkham City's the most well-rounded. It does a lot of things great, but it's not the master of any of them. And that goes for the story, the gameplay. Although I would argue there's some merit in saying the gameplay's probably one of the best. Definitely top 2, alongside Night for me. So yeah, I feel like without any context, this is a really, really bad take. Like, genuine, like, this falls into rage bait tier, like 2 out of 10. But if you add some context to that, I can definitely see where this person's coming from. And so yeah, I'd give that, like, with context, it's a 5. Like, yeah. The next take, Arkham Knight has arguably the best story. No, it doesn't. Moving on, Arkham Origins is better than Arkham City. Now, a lot of these takes, as you'll probably come to find out, are people basically going, Arkham City's bad, Arkham Origins good, move on. I don't disagree, but I wouldn't say Arkham City is bad. Again, I don't think any of the Arkham games are bad, and none of these takes are people saying Arkham City's bad, but I think this is an interesting one, because if you do it on a case-by-case basis. So if you look at the story, the boss fights, the gameplay, the combat, obviously the stealth is basically the same. Although I'd argue Origins stealth is slightly worse because it's a bit easier with the heavy reel upgrade on the remote claw. But this is a bit of a weird one for me. Because Arkham City has worse boss fights. It has a worse story. Its gameplay is about the same as Origins. Maybe Origins is, again, slightly worse because it's a lot easier. As in, you have all of City's mods and cons, but you also have the shot gloves. So if you look at it from that, yeah, I can kind of see where this person's coming from. Like, Arkham Origins might be a better all-rounded game than City, but I'm not sure if it's... In terms of impact on the franchise, City is the best game in the series. But in terms of actually squaring it up to other games... Yeah, I can see this one. Origins has better boss fights. Again, like I said, better gameplay, arguably. It does a lot of things better than City, but I think Arkham Origins has a lot of glaring holes that City covers up better. And, for example, the story. Arkham Origins story is pretty good, but then you get the Joker twist, and that's a glaringly obvious, like, wow, that's kind of poor. Like, again... It's all opinion based. It's kind of like, do you think the Joker needs to be in every Arkham game? I would argue no. But then at this point, I'm like, he's kind of like the lifeblood of the series. As much as I hate to admit that, because I am suffering from serious Joker fatigue. Like, if I see that guy in one more Batman piece of media, like live action video game in the next 10 years, I'm gonna cry. I feel like we just need to give more villains more time, But I think Arkham City's holes and its flaws are covered up a lot better. Like the fetch questy story or the ending of Talia getting killed. That's all a bit meh. Like, it's not great, but it does a better job at covering it up than Origins, which even if you look outside of the gameplay and you start looking at performance and graphically, Origins is the worst performing game, both commercially and obviously if we're again, when I'm comparing Origins, I'm comparing it to City, Asylum, and Night, because I don't think it's fair to compare to Shadow, because Shadow it's kind of one of a kind, and that's a great thing. Like, I want there to be more VR games, but at the moment it's one of a kind, and hell, for a first attempt, well, second if you count Arkham VR, but no one counts Arkham VR. For a first attempt, it's really good, so I'm not comparing it to that. But in terms of commercially, it got panned. It was the worst reviewed. Performance-wise, like actually playing it, it's the worst. Like the amount of frame drops and crashes, and again, it's all down to kind of what you prefer in a game. And Arkham City doesn't have that. Like, Arkham City graphically for me still holds up, but ish. Like it's passable. Then you got Arkham Origins, which to me just doesn't. There's just something about Arkham Origins that just, I don't know, it doesn't look great. It's not a bad looking game, don't get me wrong, but it's not a great looking game. Whereas I think Arkham City for its time was a great looking game. And even when I first played Origins, I didn't quite feel that. The pre-rendered cutscenes, oh my god, Arkham Origins cutscenes are amazing. I'd argue they are some of the best looking bits in the Arkham franchise. Like, some of those cutscenes are amazing and the visuals are great. But Arkham City, to me, just covers up its holes a bit more. But I think if you look at them objectively and go, right, these are Origins flaws, these are City flaws, yeah, I can kind of see how Arkham Origins could be perceived as being better than Arkham City. I'm going to move on because I feel like I've waffled about this and there'll be more Arkham City takes later on. But next up we have an interesting one. Again, these are all quite interesting. I've tried to pick out the best ones. We've got Origins is the only Arkham game with any interesting characters or main story. Now, again, I can kind of understand this one. I'm not... Okay, I understand the first part, or where the first part could be coming from, with the interesting characters part. Because I think Batman's at his most interesting in Origins. I think Alfred, although obviously not a key player, is at his most interesting. Bane is at his most interesting. Joker's at his most interesting. I think there's definitely a case to be made for that, and I'd argue, yeah, like, probably it's the best Arkham game when it comes to making the characters interesting. But interesting main story, I'm not too sure on that one. Because my ranking for the Arkham stories, I'd have Origins definitely up there. But is it the only game with an interesting story? In fact, I want to do a retake on my characters. It's not the only game with interesting characters. It has the most interesting characters, but it's not the only game with interesting characters. Because I feel like even Arkham Knight, once Jason Todd's revealed, that's quite interesting. Like, ooh, like if you haven't read Arkham Genesis and you don't know what Jason Todd's all about, that's quite cool. I think Batman's pretty interesting in Arkham Knight with the whole Joker thing going on in his head. There's a lot of kind of levels to this, and obviously again in Arkham City for me doesn't have any particularly interesting characters. Like, they're all pretty face value in Arkham City. Like, Batman's Arkham Batman, Joker's, you kind of know what you're getting. And same with Arkham Asylum, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I like sort of that no-nonsense, like, this is what you're getting. You're getting Batman and you're getting Joker, and they're not doing anything outrageous, they're just Batman and Joker. And so I feel like saying it's the only Arkham game with interesting characters or main story is wrong, but I don't feel like it's wrong to say that it's the game with the most interesting characters and most interesting main story. Because the main story of Arkham Origins is interesting. Like, it's really good. Like, again, it's probably at the top of my list in terms of stories. It's up there. But it's not the only Arkham game with an interesting story. I feel like Arkham Asylum kind of gets overlooked, and for good reason. Like, I'm going through these order of elimination here. Arkham Asylum gets overlooked because the plot is basically solved by Oracle Googling the answers, which is a huge thing that's always bugged me about Arkham Asylum as much as I love it. Arkham City, on paper, has a really interesting story, but then you actually play it a few times and you start picking out little plot holes and like, Batman and Joker aren't really on the same side. Like, that could have been a really interesting thing that they just didn't do, with Batman and Joker going after the same objective, working in tandem, but it never got to that. It was just Batman and Joker want the same thing, but they're not exactly working for the same thing, are they? Batman's doing all the work, Joker's having Harley Quinn steal it. So I feel like there's holes there. Knight, yeah, the story's interesting until the Arkham Knight reveal. Then for me, it just gets a bit like, it's Jason Todd, of course it's Jason Todd, that makes sense. But I feel like between the Jason Todd reveal and getting back to Arkham Asylum, it's least interesting. But I feel like after that, it gets semi-interesting, and then Origin's kind of interesting all the way through. Like, you want to see how Batman deals with these assassins, you want to find out what happened between the Joker and Black Mask, you want to find out how Batman resolves this, and obviously you've got the character moments between Batman and Alfred, and Batman kind of growing into the mask, and yeah, I feel like Origins being the most interesting story is not a bad take, and neither with interesting characters. So I'll give that a 7 out of 10. Like, that's agreeable. There are arguments to be made, but it's agreeable. But to say it's the only Arkham game with interesting characters, I don't agree with that. Anyway, this one I do agree with. Personally, I think they overused the Joker. I mean, after the guy died, he appeared more than every other villain. Very true. This one, 10 out of 10 for agreeability, because they did. But there is a rebuttal to this, which I think is quite interesting, that Arkham Asylum, his appearance was warranted. City, yes, was warranted. And City at the end killing him, bear in mind that was only the second game in the franchise. Killing him was a ballsy move from Rocksteady. Like, that's big balls moves. But I think then when you put him in Origins, despite how good that performance was, and despite how good he actually was in Origins, putting him in Origins was at the point where it's like, okay, yeah, cool, we'll deal with it. Putting him in Night and writing that into the story, for me, was like, okay, yeah, he's dead. Like, just let him die. Like, please, just give Scarecrow, and even the Arkham Knight, their screen time, let them flourish. And the Joker, for me, like I said, I have serious Joker fatigue. Like, I am sick of the Joker. As much as I love the Joker, oh my god, he appears in everything. And it makes sense, he makes money. Like, casual fans, like people who went to watch The Batman because it had the Batman name in it, got hyped when the Joker appeared in Arkham Asylum. But I'd imagine, well, for me and for many other fans of the franchise, like, hardcores, it was like, yeah, that's the Joker. Of course the Joker's going to be in it, because they literally can't seem to do anything without him. And it's annoying as well, and it's kind of circles back into this point. Batman has the most interesting and full rogues gallery in comic book history. Like, Batman has a lineup of like 20 villains that you think, yeah, they could be really cool main threats. And that's just the ones that could be main threats. Then you start looking into sort of the deeper cuts and you're like, wow, like side villains, quote unquote. It's, you know, Batman has such an interesting rogues gallery. And I feel like, yeah, this is true. They did overuse the Joker. Is that to say the Joker was bad in any of his games? No, not all. I think Arkham Origins is really good. Asylum, obviously, it's classic Mark Hamill Joker. It's great. Cities is really good, kind of when he's faced with his own mortality. I think that's actually quite interesting. And then even in Night, I think some of his funniest moments are in Night. And I think that's why people didn't outrage at it. I mean, there was a bit of outrage, but there wasn't like, we're going to boycott Arkham Knight because the Joker's in it. Because he is really funny in that game. And there are certain bits where you're like, okay, yeah, I kind of see why they brought him back. And it makes sense story-wise with him being in Batman's head. And I feel like that's kind of symbolic that Batman can't get the Joker out of his head. And therefore, in Batman's mind, Batman's overusing the Joker. And so I feel like that's a nice little kind of parallel. But yeah, I feel like this is a good take, because he's not saying that the Joker's bad. He's saying that the Joker's overused. And those two things are not the same thing. They're entirely not the same thing. So yeah, I thought this is 10 out of 10. I give this a 10 on agreeability. Next one we have a pretty lukewarm take. This isn't a hot take, I just wanted to kind of put this in because it's different. Arkham Origins has the best boss fights in the series. It does. No one's arguing that ever. Like, there's maybe one fight which is a bit meh, and that's, for me, it's Shiva. But yeah, it has the best tutorial boss fight in Killer Croc. It has the best hand-to-hand fight in Deathstroke. It has the other best hand-to-hand fight in Bane. It has the best stealth fight in Bane. Basically, Arkham Origins just is Bane, the video game. But no, like, joking aside, yeah, it has the best boss fights in the series. Moving on, we have an interesting one. Arkham Origins and Shadow are the best Arkham games. This one, for me, I don't even think this is a bad opinion, nor a hot take, really. Not that I agree with it. I don't agree with it. Like, again, we're looking at this objectively. I don't agree with it, but I respect it, because it's all about what you want in a Batman game. For me, I want an experienced Batman. I like Batman to know what he's doing and to have his, all of his... like, he's just like Arkham Asylum Batman. Like, he just is what he is. But I also really enjoy kind of an origin story Batman. But how Origins did it, where we don't get the Bruce Wayne's parents were killed in Crime Alley and then he goes to train, then he comes back and becomes Batman. We get, obviously we see that in Arkham Origins, but we get Batman into his second year. And so I really like that. And I think, there is definitely a case for this to be true. Again, it just depends what you want in your Batman. Do you want a younger, angrier Batman? Do you want a more stoic Batman? It all comes down to personal taste. But I don't agree with this, because I don't think Origins and Shadow would top my personal list of Arkham games. But I entirely respect this opinion. Like, there's definitely... You could make a case for this and not get killed. Like, you could make a case that, in fact, Arkham Origins and Shadow are the best games because they've got the most interesting characters, they've got the most interesting storylines. And so, yeah, I feel like there's definitely something behind that. So I'll give this one a 10 out of 10 for, yes, it could be someone's opinion and it could be a correct opinion. And a 5 out of 10 for me agreeing with it, because I don't. But, moving on. This is another Arkham City slander one. So Arkham City fans, shut your ears. We've got Arkham City is not as good as people say it is. Arkham Knight is the best by far. Arkham City is actually my least favourite. The city layout is confusing. I think the combat is less polished. I've played through it once, but played all the other games multiple times. This is an interesting one, because I feel like there's a take within a take here. Arkham City is not as good as people say it is. Yeah, I kind of get that. Like, again, this is coming, if you look at it from a casual standpoint, casual Batman fans who play through the game will probably play through them all, and City will probably be their favourite, because on paper it is the best game. But, yeah, you're right, it's not as good as people say it is. It's not my favourite, because again, to me, or for me at least, it doesn't excel. Like, it doesn't have that standout feature. Like, it doesn't have that, yes, this is what Arkham City is really, really good at. It's a jack of all trades, and that's a really good thing. Say, I love Arkham City, especially as I've grown up, because I have to admit, and you can crucify me for this in the comments, Arkham City used to be my least favourite. Like, I used to not like Arkham City. Like, I don't know why, or not like it, but it was my least favourite of Asylum, City, Origins, and Night. And say, I genuinely couldn't explain it to you. It just was. And so I like to think that now I've kind of grown up and come to appreciate City, I can kind of not sit on the fence, but look at it from an objective standpoint as someone who's not liked the game and someone who now really likes the game. In that, yeah, it's not as good as people say it is, but when you look at it in comparison to the other Arkham games, it is as good as people say it is, because it brought so many new features into the game, it expanded the world so much, the gameplay for me, I'm always in a bit of a toss-up, is it as good as Night? Because I feel like City has a more Batman realistic gameplay style, in that Batman's not flying halfway across an arena to punch someone. He still does that, but it's not as blatantly like, Christ, Batman's just covered half the continent of Africa to punch that guy. And so I feel like, yeah, it's Arkham City not being as good as people saying it is, yeah, whatever. But then we've got Arkham Knight is the best by far. I feel like whatever I say here, I'm going to get killed, because obviously, as anyone who's been a long-time viewer of this channel, or long-time, viewer of this channel will know, Arkham Knight is my personal favourite. I understand all the game's flaws, and a lot of them I agree with. I think the story's not very good. I think the Bat Tank is really misplaced within the game's story, in the context of the story, and just the side missions. But then, yeah, so I understand that, as in, Arkham Knight has a lot of flaws. Like, it does. It's not a perfect game. But Arkham City does, like, it's Arkham City. I know that's a stupid thing to say, right? It's like when people try to defend Kanye and they go, oh, he made Graduation. He did make Graduation, and The Life of Pablo is probably one of the best albums ever, ? And 808s and Heartbreak's my favourite album of all time, period. But, that was a rant, but does that mean Arkham City is the best because it simply is Arkham City? No. Does it mean Arkham Knight is the best by far? As in there's a sizable gap between Knight and, I'd probably say most people's second favourite's either City or Origins? No. It's not the best by far. It's up there, but then again they're all up there. Like, you could put any one of them at number one on any given day, and you could get away with it. Like, for me, sat here right now, I'm working on a video as I'm recording this video about Arkham Asylum. So my current ranking is probably Asylum, Knight, City, Origins. But like, when I was working on my Arkham Origins videos in December, it was Origins, City, Knight, Asylum. Like, the rankings change a lot, and for that I can't, so I don't think I can personally sit here and say that any of the games even are the best by far, because I don't think there's a sizable gap between Knight and any of the others, because Knight has a lot of glaring flaws, and the others have flaws, but they're not as glaring. Like, they're not as, wow, that's weird. Like, again, there's a case to be made that they do, but just in my opinion, I wouldn't agree with that. And then going back to the Arkham City one, we've got the city layout is confusing. No, it's a horseshoe with a little sewer at the bottom. The combat is less polished. The Night, yes, but then Asylum and Origins... Stuttering. The Night, yes. Every Arkham combat is less polished than Night, because Night has the best combat. But to say it's less polished than Asylum, no. To say it's less polished than Origins, no. I'd actually, despite the fact Origins came out after, and probably... Obviously, it's basically the same thing. Like, they reused a lot of, like, the core DNA of the combat, but yeah. I feel like this one's a bit of a weird one. It gets a 5 out of 10, because I can kind of see where the person's coming from. Like, Arkham City not being as good as people say it is definitely valid. Arkham Knight being the best by far, like, by a sizable metric, for me, isn't valid. I don't think any of the Arkham games are better than any of the others by far, because they're all really good. Like, they're all like 8, 9, 10 out of 10s. So, yeah, I can't really speak to that. And then the combat being less polished. Nah, it's not. Oh, sorry, Arkham City's combat is less polished than Knight's, but every Arkham game's combat is less polished than Knight's. So I guess that gets a 10 out of 10? In terms of agreeability, it is definitely less polished than Knight's. But everything is. Or not everything, every Arkham game is. So yeah. The last one we have, the coup de grace, is I didn't really like Jonathan Banks as Commissioner Gordon or John Noble as Scarecrow. Banks felt very wooden in his delivery and Noble was just okay. First of all, Noble was not just okay. I'm taking this very personally as a Scarecrow fanboy. No, Noble was really good, and if you disagree, you're just wrong. No, obviously not. But yeah, I feel like there's a case to be made, definitely for Jonathan Banks being wooden. Definitely, because he is a very wooden guy. He kind of only has one emotion, and it's, I don't really want to be here, and I guess that's kind of his charm, right? So yeah, that's agreeable. Although I think, no, he's the second best Gordon. I think Origins Gordon was probably better just because he was a bit more emotive. So yeah, I can definitely see that. Noble just being okay, though, I don't get. I feel like Jonathan Noble... Sure, we'll call him by his government name. John Noble as Scarecrow was the best Scarecrow we got. Like, just the tone he talks in, and he just sounds evil. And I just think that works really well. As I say, that's just personal opinion, but I guess all of this is personal opinion, so none of it really matters. No, I feel like, yeah, Jonathan Banks being wooden, yes. John Noble being just okay, no. I'll give that one a 6 out of 10. 7 out of 10. We'll give it a 7. Because, yeah, I can see both sides of that. And that brings us to the end of the video. So thank you for everyone who left a comment or a take. I couldn't get through them all because this video would have been an hour long and no one wants to watch that. But yeah, thank you to everyone who left a comment, everyone who liked the post even, just to get it out there a bit more. Leave any comments or thoughts you have in the comment section below, as I'm sure you're doing. Don't be a dick about it. It's a set of games based around Batman, who is an inherently goofy character. So again, thank you all for watching so much. Subscribe, nearly at 2,000. And again, comment a fact about Killer Croc if you made it this far, because I'm pretty sure not many people will have. They'll probably got bored of my waffling. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time, and goodbye.